Welcome to the Your Mark on the World show. I'm your host, Devin Thorpe, and we are honored to have a special guest with us. We have today Brace Young, who is the CEO of Eclat Impact, one of our sponsors. Brace, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Devin. I really appreciate the opportunity.
Well, we're thrilled to have you. We don't always get people of such great stature on the show, and we're thrilled that you would make time for us today. What you're doing at Eclat Impact is really, I think, significant. And I wish you'd just tell us a little bit about the basics. Give us a quick overview so we have some context for our discussion.
Great, thank you. Yeah, what we're trying to do is build a global online marketplace that is compliant with all the major securities laws around the world that will facilitate the investment mostly in direct private securities, debt or equity, on transactions that are focused on things that will have a benefit to the world. People use the word impact, but it can be many different things. But transactions that, in our opinion, have very attractive risk and return characteristics, and have measurable, benefit to society.
Now, the firm has been working on this platform for years, in all honesty. So give us some sense of where you are in the process and when you expect to start seeing transactions affected on the platform.
Yeah, there's a great history here. The two founders of the company that was originally called Gate Global Impact was Vince Molinari and Joe Latona, and they have been working on this for over 6 years. And they had a really unique vision in advance of the Jobs Act being passed, that there was an opportunity to facilitate the direct investment using an internet platform for private securities. And Vince in particular was a vocal and powerful advocate on the Hill, both with the SEC and Congress, to get what was the final version of the Jobs Act. I joined in the beginning of the year, having been in the the financial services industry, both at Goldman Sachs and a hedge fund, Mariner Investment Group. And in my most recent path includes chairing the board of social finance, which has really opened my eyes to the need and the opportunity to leverage the capital markets to be able to facilitate larger amounts of capital to flow to projects that really can have direct contributions to help people around the world. We've seen the evolution of this discussion, over the years, but I think it's become clearer and clearer to people that philanthropy is insufficient, very powerful but insufficient, and government has not done a great job in prioritizing and having capital used effectively to deal with these issues head on.
Well, those are powerful insights that philanthropy is powerful but insufficient. Government doesn't prioritize well. And we can see that all the time. Governments have other priorities, and so having people who are socially minded or impact minded make investments to drive change is a great addition. And the platform you're creating has unique potential because you're designing this to be internationally compliant. As I understand it, you're not targeting ordinary retail investors, the people who are investing in mutual funds and saving in their 401ks. You're targeting institutional capital, high net worth individuals, big money. Is that right?
That's correct. The way that the Jobs Act is defined, that it is to comply with the securities law. It's not impossible. As you know, below accredited, there is this definition of crowdfunding, but it's more limited in the scale. So our goal is to focus on accredited investors above, so wealthy individuals that meet the accredited standards, right up to institutions. And we think both insurance companies, foundations, endowments, sovereign wealth funds, all are aligned to give their capital invested. And I think part of the dilemma has been there hasn't been a great clearinghouse where there is a brand that allows people to confidently source and to execute transactions. There are many transactions available, but there's a lot of work to be able to ascertain the benefits, not only the risks and returns, but the impact. And what our hope is to be collaborative. Our goal is not to build everything from scratch, but to work with counterparties and partners around the world, both as sourcers and due diligence of particular transactions, and then advocate it and make it easy and cost effective for people to execute a transaction.
That's, I think, an important goal, and a key part of that is making it international. Both because so many of the projects are international, and the capital these days, it's a global flow of capital, and so having that. How are you going about building a platform that will be internationally compliant?
So we started with the basis here in the United States. The Jobs Act obviously framed the legal framework here. The SEC has made those rules very clear, and we built the platform to be compliant with that. We own a broker-dealer, and so FINRA is a regulator of us. That facilitates us both safely advocating trades. Everybody that we'll be talking to, investors, will be registered with FINRA. And then in most instances, and as we've gone around the world, it's powerful for other jurisdictions to know that FINRA and the SEC are regulators. And while it's not a straight line to approval, having a recognized regulator like the United States is a facilitator. So we are asking permission. One of the things that's very important to me is we want to be in the center of the regulation, not on the fringe of it. And so in every instance, we are getting explicit approval from the regulatory authorities in the countries that we operate and to be clear that we're abiding by the rules.
And when do you expect to have your first transaction on the platform?
So, it's fascinating. The history of this is Gate Global Impact did execute over $200 million worth of trades. So there is already success that's been measured. We will, I think, we will rebrand this beginning, we're looking for January 1st. And a lot of it is to refocus it on the process of creating quality, availability, and independent appropriate research that will give people comfort that they have a non-biased and opportunity to look at transactions. And we're experimenting. I don't have the exact right answer yet, but we're trying to be able to create a methodology that will include, in our opinions, a lead investor for every transaction, a lead investor with a definable skill in the area they're investing, so that if a potential investor looks and said, well, that institution or individual has real skill in this space and there is confidence associated with this, and then independently find an independent third party that will do a research piece that will frame the risks, the opportunities, and the impact. And then we're committed to keep simple and measurable impacts that we will insist that the issuer provide us to be able to report back, so that we will be able to demonstrate that we've lived up to the opportunity set that we've advocated, both risk, return, and the defined impact.
It's really an important step to add that impact reporting. Of course, the marketplace is generally getting more sophisticated, but we've done a lot more talking in the industry about the need for impact reporting than I think we have actually done it. We have collectively given ourselves a bit of a pass because it's hard.
It's hard. Yeah, I think in fairness it's difficult. I think you need a balance between being so complicated and so in-depth that it becomes daunting and off-putting and difficult to succeed. And yet you simply can't be cavalier and operate on things that just don't that don't have substance to it. So I won't tell you that we have the answer to everything, but we are committed to work with many participants in the industry that are giving a lot of thought to this. Obviously, we've got a lot of B Corp work that's been done. Gin, many people have given some very good thought to it. We want to be very specific to each transaction and make sure that something is credible. And we will learn. I'm sure we won't get everything right on every time, but we want to create a standard that people feel comfortable with, that they know that they can come. If we're successful, we will create a destination where people will know that they're seeing well thought out, well advocated transactions. They will make their own choices, but at least they'll know that they are getting choice of a thoughtful and definable process.
Yeah. Well, it is. It's exciting to see this maturing. We're excited to see the relaunch of Eclat Impact. Brace, I want to take advantage of the opportunity while I've got you to just tap into some of your personal insights, if you'll forgive me. But you are becoming a real role model in this space, and certainly are destined to become one of its premier leaders with the launch of this platform, because there will be so much dollar volume of transactions on the platform. But who do you look up to as a role model for inspiration?
Well, I think what we want to be is a contemporary version of the very successful investment banks. My career was at Goldman Sachs, which was a shaping experience in my life. And when I started at Goldman in 1980, it was a private partnership. It had done, in my opinion, something was truly unique and was inspiring to me. The then co-senior partners, John Whitehead and Weinberg, had written a set of business principles that were very focused on focusing on quality and the client coming first. And we want to be able to replicate a brand that not only represents the financial sophistication, I think, and the confidence that Goldman brought and built over the years, but also added that dimension of being thoughtful about catalyzing the discussion around on the impact side. And I do think that this is a very, very important time in the world where we need to be able to deal head on with very important issues that are facing society very similar around the world, and they're all shared, whether it is climate change or access to clean water or sustainable agriculture, or some of the social issues that we all face. And we know that some of the tensions in the world are very similar. This view that there is a tension between the successful and the not so successful is real and palpable, and we need to be able to address that. We can't ignore it. And I think the capital markets have this unique opportunity to play a powerful positive role. And it hurts me, and I think the industry has not done itself probably a service, but the capital markets have not built a good reputation for themselves, post the financial crisis, and maybe even going back to the dot-com issues. And I think there is a great opportunity for peers of mine that have had careers and we're at this point in our lives that we can give back and to leverage the skills that we developed in the capital market for the benefit of many. My personal inspiration is Ronnie Cohen, is the founder of social finance that I chair here in the United States. But I think few people that I've met in the world, really not only demonstrate but live, leveraging their skills and their passion to make difference in the world, influencing public policy, and most importantly, just getting capital flowing from the private markets to deal with social issues head on, and that obviously can apply to these environmental issues and others as well.
Yeah. Well, that is a great answer. I want to move on. You have had a tremendously successful career, and you could be doing anything at this point in your career. You've got all the options in front of you. Why have you chosen something that would be so focused on impact? Why is that important to you?
I think a catalyst was Ronnie when I met him, and he inspired in me a view. We've spent all this time in our careers, doing these things. We have these skills, and it's a great opportunity to give back. I think, I've been philanthropic in my career, as many people on the street have had, but here's an opportunity for us to really use the things that we honed over the years to bring benefit to people. And, I have 21-year-old twins and an 18-year-old and a 17-year-old, and I listen to them, and I listen to their conversations around their fears and their frustrations. And I think it's important for us to all engage in recognizing that we are at an inflection point. There are a lot of problems, and we can't pretend that everything's going to be okay. There's a lot of reason to believe that everything isn't going to be okay, and it's just important for me to be a part of that. I've had the good fortune of being in a couple of industries that have allowed me to be successful. But I also think it's very important to give back, and you can give back in many ways. But I think mine can be most leverageable in and make a bigger difference than simply donating to charity or chairing a board someplace. But if we can actually facilitate a marketplace that can dramatically change the amount of capital that will flow, I mean that can dwarf all these other things.
Yeah, it's potentially huge. Last question. We like to ask all of our guests for an impact hack, some tip that would help us to do more good in the world. What's your impact hack?
I think everybody has to decide what's important to them, and I think you have to look and see where can you add value when you look back in your individual career, and where can you do something that you can have disproportionate value. And so I think that's for every person to decide. For me, I do think, as I said before, I want to leverage the experience that I've had when we've worked in social finance. I spent a lot of time with them over there, helping them understand what makes a security digestible to people, and how can we be creative. And for me, it's really exciting watching really bright young people tackle these social issues and then try to think about how does it become applicable to a financial transaction. But I think for every individual, they're going to have to find their path. There's so many important things to work on in the world. I think there's lots of good choices and lots of people can contribute.
Fantastic. Well, Brace, we really appreciate you taking the time to be with us today. Before you go, please tell us how people can learn more about Eclat Impact and connect with you personally.
Great. Thank you very much. Well, so we have a website, eclatimpact.com. My personal email is byoung@eclatimpact.com. And I would welcome people reaching out. We are looking for partners. We are looking for people that can help us think about opportunities, deal flow, the framework. People would like to partner with us. I have to say I feel very fortunate in the last 7 months having talked to, I think, almost 400 different people and institutions, and all of them have had a different tact on how they can be collaborative and useful. And so we're welcoming of everybody. We learn something from everybody we talk to, and we know that we have much more to learn, and we look forward to partnering with as many people as possible to, to be able to fulfill this vision and this really important task of really freeing capital up to deal with these issues. The UN last year obviously did this incredibly important thing of passing sustainability goals. And the fact that we've got every country in the world has acknowledged that there are a series of issues. And I think that was catalytic in also passing the Paris Accord. I mean, we really are at this inflection point where, while not everybody has agreed how we're going to do it and what the metrics of success, but the fact that every government in the world has agreed that these are important topics to tackle and identified them, that to me was a real tipping point. And so, I think the more of us that can all work together, because none of us can do it individually. Even multilateral institutions have been very successful. UN has laid out a path, but I think it's up to the rest of us to be able to actually affect the success of the path that and the vision that they've set out.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, we really appreciate, Brace, the time you've taken to be with us today, and wish you every success in launching Eclat Impact.
Great, Devin. I really appreciate the opportunity, and I appreciate the chance, and I love what you're doing, and so you're doing a very important thing for the world. So thank you as well.
Well, thank you. Now let's do some good.
Okay.